Hi, everyone. It's Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and we are back for another Monday morning of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration that have happened in the past week or so, or things that I like to remind you of so that you don't forget. So, you know me, I like to dive right on in. So, the first thing I want to talk to you about are spouses of E and L principal visa holders. So L's, as we know, are our intra-company transferees. They have come from a related company from overseas, and they're working in that same company here in the U.S. They are allowed to bring their spouses and their minor children under 21 with them. And our E's are our E1s and our E2s. Those are our treaty traders, our treaty investors. They are also allowed to bring their spouses and their minor children under 21. And minor in the immigration context is an unmarried child under 21. So that's why I say under 21. So those spouses, not the children, but just the spouses of E and L visa holders, they are now, and have been for a little while now, able to work just because they are independent L and E status. So they no longer have to apply for separate work authorization. They no longer have to apply for an EAD because, as you know, because we've been hanging out every Monday morning, you know those applications are currently taking around 12 months. So the Immigration Service has changed that up. And so now those spouses of E and L visa holders are able to work just by nature of the fact that they are in dependent status of their E and L principal visa holders. So immigration has now changed and added codes so that when you enter, that code should be in the system throughout. That is important so that when you apply for your Social Security card, your Social Security number, the Social Security Administration now has access to those codes, and they too are now recognizing that these spouses have automatic work authorization. So it should make getting your Social Security number and your Social Security card a little bit easier. If you are getting pushback, you should not be. So if you are, and that's something that you need assistance with, feel free to call my office, and we are more than happy to help you with that. We can be reached at 954-903-1337. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, and it may seem a little too early, but it's not, I promise, is H-1B season. The new H-1B season, it is right around the corner. We are almost in fourth quarter of 2022. As you know, every year in March, we enter individuals and companies into the H-1B lottery. That lottery preparation generally begins in January. So truly, when I say H-1B season is right around the corner, it really is. So if you are an employer, you're a manager, you're an HR executive, you're in-house counsel, you're a global mobility specialist, you're head of global mobility, and you have individuals that are on staff that are currently in student status and they are working for you with your OPT, now is a perfect time to touch base and figure out if this is an employee that you want to work with you all full time once their OPT is over. OPT, as we all know, is optional practical training and allows for work authorization once an international student graduates from their degree program. If they're in a STEM related program, science, technology, engineering, and math, then they are allowed extra time on their OPT. So I like to say apply for the H-1B lottery as early and as often as you can, because as we all know, not everyone gets selected in the lottery. So now is the time to really start thinking about your international students that are working with you all under their OPT. If this is an individual that you would like to remain with you, start thinking now about getting them registered in the H-1B lottery. We'll be able to get them registered in March, but now is a great time to start thinking about it because, in fact, H-1B season is right around the corner. With a blink of an eye, it will be H-1B season. And y'all know during H-1B season, I talk a lot about it. So I'm gonna ease you in this here and start slowly. The next thing I want to talk about is premium processing. So we know that the Immigration Service is slowly, ever so slowly, expanding premium processing. We are now working on the third phase of expanding premium processing for green card holders, or green card applicants, I should say. Those individuals that are applying based on multinational manager or executive category and the national interest waiver category. So if your application is currently pending with the Immigration Service, meaning you have already filed it, and it was under the category of multinational manager or executive, and it was filed on or before January 1, 2022, then you are now eligible to upgrade that application for premium processing. If you filed your green card application based on national interest waiver category, and the Immigration Service received that application on or before February 1st of 2022, you are now eligible to upgrade your application to premium processing. Upgrading it to premium processing, there is an extra fee for premium processing. We already know that. And instead of the usual 15 calendar days for premium processing, immigration has given themselves 45 days to process those applications. But 45 days as opposed to a year, sometimes longer, some folks consider that a win. So depending on what your specific situation is, again, if you've already filed and you meet those cutoff dates, you may want to consider upgrading your application to premium processing, and then you will get you'll get correspondence back, a decision, or a request for additional evidence within 45 calendar days of that application, of upgrading it to premium processing. And so just so that we're all clear, this taking things out and putting them into premium processing should not in fact slow down regular processing. It is a completely separate group of people, is a completely separate unit that handles premium processing applications. So if you're worried about that, don't. The Immigration Service has assured us that they will not slow down the other processing types. I actually think it is helping to speed up those other processing types, because for every person that is taken out of the regular line and moved over into premium processing, that is one less person in that regular line. So hopefully we should see a little bit of backlog reduction in those specific categories as well. Fingers crossed. The next thing we're going to talk about is really what made me think of this is that Hurricane Ian is barreling down on the southern part of the United States and is making its way into the Gulf, and will probably make landfall somewhere on the west coast of Florida later this week. So what made me think of this, and that's what made me think of this next update for y'all. And I wanted to remind you that the Immigration Service does take into consideration and does offer assistance for individuals that have been affected by natural disasters and other sort of unforeseen circumstances. And that is true whether or not an individual is in the US or outside of the US. But specifically, I started thinking about it because of Hurricane Ian, again, that's making its way on to or close to the west coast of Florida this week. And so that means that the Immigration Service will be flexible when it comes for people that are, bumping up against a deadline for a request for additional evidence that needs to be submitted, or a notice of intent to deny, a response to that needs to be submitted, or an appeal, or, things like that, or, rescheduling of their biometrics. The Immigration Service understands that things happen that are beyond their control. But let me be clear. If let's say you're in Florida, Hurricane Ian's coming. If you get a drop of rain in your town as a result of the hurricane, and you are not, in its direct path, I think Immigration Service is going to be far less amenable to you missing a deadline than if you are in the direct path of where the hurricane touches down. So it is not something that we should take lightly, that they are giving us these sorts of flexibilities when needed. But obviously we want to be honest and, use them only when we need them. To piggyback on that, we're also still under COVID flexibilities in general. So if you receive notice from the Immigration Service between March of 2020 up through and including October 23rd, 2022 of this year, we are given an extra 60 days to respond to most of those notice types already because of COVID and because individuals are still having delays in getting supporting documents either from the US or from overseas. So just keep that in mind. If you find yourself in some sort of natural disaster or something that is really considered unforeseen, the Immigration Service also updates their website for these things, and as you know, I talk about them on Monday mornings, so I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. And the last thing I wanted to talk about this Monday morning are green card applications in general and the COVID vaccination. The COVID-19 vaccination is still required for green card applicants. This is documented and requested on the medical form. The Immigration Service updated the form, has released a new form. So that is part of the new form. It has not been taken away yet. I have not seen anything come out from the service that says that if you're applying for a green card, you no longer have to show that you are vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus. So please keep that in mind. If there is a religious reason that you are against the vaccination and all vaccinations, there is a mechanism where you can apply for a waiver of the vaccine requirements. So if that is you and you have that question, feel free to call our office, or if you have any questions on your immigration case in general, feel free to call our office. We're happy to help, and we can be reached at 954-903-1337. So that's all I have for y'all this Monday morning. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and this has been another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite. Have a great rest of your Monday, and